Good afternoon, team. Now, after Justin's horrible video yesterday, I had to jump on it and make amends and talk about a win that I had yesterday, which is way better than what his win was. So basically, the diagnosis that I had was, or what I'd been told, was an insertional Achilles tendinopathy. So quite common thing that we see all the time. It had been ongoing for about 6 months. Asked a few things around the history, and it just didn't seem exactly like a normal insertional Achilles tendinopathy. So again, around the questioning, which we'll get to later, and the diagnosis, I thought may not have been an insertional Achilles. So when we look at the Achilles, everybody knows hopefully what that tendon is. Big tendon that comes down, calf muscle starts up here, comes down into the Achilles tendon and inserts onto the back of the foot. So super important tendon. Now, surrounding the tendon, we have something called the paratendon. Now, think of it like electrical conduit. You've got wire in the middle, which is the Achilles, and then you've got the outer casing around that wire. That's like the paratendon. Now, does it really matter if it's a paratendon diagnosis or if it's an insertional Achilles? It definitely does matter, because usually the treatments are the exact opposite. So an Achilles tendon, we know, responds really well with load, strength, load modification, heel lift, good shoes, all that kind of thing. Whereas a paratendon really just needs rest. So you can see, if you think it was an insertional, and this patient again had been diagnosed with an insertional, wasn't getting better with calf raises and things like that. So basically what we did was have 2 weeks completely off running and really any kind of intense activity. Came back in feeling like 70% better. There's some other things you can do with cream and stuff, but I'll leave that for another day. So feeling like 60, 70% better. And then we started to gradually build up that load. So we'll see how we go. Now, how do you, tell the difference between an insertional Achilles and a paratendon? So easily, and probably the most noticeable thing is it gets worse the more that we load it. So let's say we're going on a 3-kilometer run. Typically with an Achilles tendinopathy, it gets better the longer the run goes on and it kind of warms up. A paratendon will get worse the longer it goes on. So if you start the first 500 meters and it's warmed up and it feels good, probably got an Achilles tendinopathy. But if it's getting worse and the pain tends to be getting more intense, you're probably dealing with a paratendon. So the other thing is doing a calf raise or an isometric hold where you come right up onto your tippy toes. That's going to actually give you a lot of pain with a paratendon, whereas with an Achilles tendinopathy, usually that feels pretty good, and we can actually use it sometimes for pain modulation. Now, the third thing is we usually see a lot of swelling, because between the tendon itself and the paratendon, we get some fluid and some inflammation. You actually tend to see a lot of swelling around that heel, compared to maybe with a chronic Achilles, it might be thicker. So hope you guys like that. Again, really super important that you diagnose, or get the right diagnosis, because the treatments are so different. So had a good win. It was only 2 weeks off, and then we were going to jump back in and see how we go. So awesome. Thanks for listening, guys.